Sleep disturbances. Oh, this was a big one for me. It still is a lot of times. Not so much right now. I'm sleeping through the night, thank God, but you can wake up between 2 and 4 o'clock in the morning and you can have very vivid dreams. And I have experienced this. So usually when I'm waking up at 2 to 4 in the morning, it's usually around 3. And it's like, okay, what do you want? Because I know spirits wanting to get a hold of me because I wouldn't wake up any other way unless they were wanting me to do something. So I ask, what is it that you want? What do you need from me? Because it's so quiet in the world that you can hear everything. And that's why they reach out to you at that hour, is because it's quiet in the world. And that means you can hear and you're not distracted because the world is asleep. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Journey of an Awakening Spirit. This is Kathleen Flanagan, your host, and we're streaming on the Bold Brave TV network. And since I don't seem to have my notes in front of me, that's all okay. I just want to go ahead and start the show that we're going to do the sound that we're bringing in love, happiness, and balance to set the tone for the show. Today, I want to talk about energetic upgrades and the signs that you're experiencing an activation. So, what are energetic upgrades and spiritual activations? They can be a variety of things when they happen. Sometimes they can happen when there's solar flares going on. There could be when we're having some natural disasters on other parts of the world, like tsunamis or earthquakes, that kind of thing, because that's a big major energy shift that's happening. So as we're going through that, and I know that, and then there's those that, because you're on the journey of awakening and you're going through the ascension process, you can create your own. When you make a commitment to make a change in your life, excuse me, I don't know what's going on with my throat again. When you make a change to want to be a different person, a better person, you want to do something different, you're just tired of the same old rut that you put yourself into for most of your life and you want to make those changes, that also creates another spiritual activation for you. And, you know, I've been thinking about this, that on the alignment process, I think in 2008, after I came back from all that stuff from my mom and her death and writing the books and being in Chicago, I actually started an activation that I don't think I was aware of at the time. I remember that just making that one bit of gratitude, saying I was grateful to be back in Colorado, really did change the trajectory of my life. And we don't think something that small can make that big of a difference, but it really does make that big of a difference. And when you're coming out of something that's really dark and heavy for you, gratitude and love are the two vibrations that are going to accelerate you to move forward in that. And the one story that I know that I've told you this, because this was probably the most profound, was when I purchased this house. I was in Mary Morrissey's coaching program, and for some reason I decided somewhere along the line, it was time to move. Spirit came in and said, it's time to move. So I said, okay. And so I did, but I hadn't finished the, my living room, dining room, kitchen. I hadn't refinished the main floor. I did the family room. I did the upstairs. So I did everything except for that. And so I knew that I needed to upgrade the flooring and definitely upgrade the kitchen, because the kitchen I hated the kitchen. It was too small. And so we started doing that. And within a month after starting that, the house was ready to put on the market. I didn't put the house on the market until I think the day after Christmas is when I put it on the market. Even though I had purchased a house, I put an offer in on this house like the day before Christmas. And I was just moving. And I remember Sal saying, can we just slow down? It's too fast. It's too fast. It's too fast. And I was in this place of, I can't slow down. I don't know how to slow down. And that's when divine providence comes in and shares with you and helps you, because it's like, as I'm moving forward, spirit's moving towards me. And so I kept moving in that direction. And I did all the visualization about living here, decorating the house, having parties here, that kind of thing. And every opportunity I had to come up to here, I did. So that way I could really get my energy dialed into this house, because I was so nervous that I wouldn't be able to get it for whatever reason. Well, I knew what it was. And I remember when we finally landed in the house and everything was in, we weren't settled by any stretch of the imagination, but it was like the day after, I think it was, or right after we got everything in, and we just stopped moving. Sal and I both just stopped moving. And it was like, oh my God, I have no idea where I am. And it wasn't that I was in Johnstown, Colorado at this point. It was beyond that. It was like an energetic frequency that I didn't know that I was in. So it wasn't like I went up one rung on the Ascension platform. I went up several, and it took me a while to adjust to that, because I didn't even know how to pay my bills. That's how far out I felt like I was. And it took about a year for that Ascension process to really anchor in. And, those are the things, when you're in that, you don't always know you're in it, but you can feel it. And I've gotten very sensitive to when energy's shifting. I know there's energy shifting right now. I can feel it. I'm really tired today. And this is one of the symptoms of when you start going into it. And I'm sleeping. That's the thing. I'm sleeping. So I wanted to just give you a little bit of that, because, some of the other feelings, you could feel confused and you're not understanding what's happening. And I know that's what was happening for me when I purchased the house. I wasn't quite sure, but I had a good idea, but I wasn't sure. But right now I'm not feeling quite sure what's going on or why. And it's okay. I'm not worried about it, because I know that the answers will come. But one affirmation that's really good to say when you're in this, and to kind of help you to relax, is, my energy is evolving to match the next level of my soul's journey. And that is very powerful to say, because you're allowing spirit to come in and help and work with you. And it's taking all the pressure off of you, because even if you don't know what's happening, something's happening. So the definition of an energetic upgrade is a vibrational shift that happens when your soul integrates with higher frequencies. And this is also can be described as the ascension process. This can be when there's solar flares going on. Like I said, when there's tidal waves or natural disasters happening, you have increased connection to your spiritual gifts, and you're letting go of old program and density. And I think that's one of the biggest things for me that I've noticed, that the more I worked on getting rid of the stuff that wasn't working for me, my old habits, my limiting beliefs, that kind of thing, is the fastest way to start moving and not feeling so dense. Because as long as we stay in our ruts, it makes it really hard to change. And then that proverbial 4x8 comes along and smacks you something fierce, that you are so flattened on your butt that you don't even know if you could ever get back up again. And that's kind of how I describe it. And when I've had that, I didn't understand it then, because, the world was a lot different back then when I was coming up and coming of age into all of this. So I definitely understand all of this very well and very clearly. And what I did, some of the things that I chose to do during that period of time, was I started meditating. I definitely had spiritual practices. I was in the School of Metaphysics to try to get a handle on understanding the metaphysics, trying to figure out there's got to be something more than what I was in. And this is in my 20s, early 30s, when I was doing all this and trying to figure out, where do I fit in the scheme of this world? Because I really didn't understand where I was. And I was also a natural energy healer, and I didn't understand that about myself either. Like I said, there was so much darkness on the planet back in those years that it was every 3 steps forward, you took 2 steps backwards. And it was so frustrating, but it was I was here to help bring the light to the planet. So that meant I was doing even more work, harder work, to try to bring this light to the planet to help the generations that have followed us to come in so the world is better. So yes, it may look like it's a mess, but the reason it's a mess is because it needs to be a mess so we can clean out the garbage and we can move forward into a lighter vibrational frequency. And the reason that this mess is the way it is because it's that we're all out of alignment, that it's time to change. It's time to get rid of the us versus them and me against them and the hate and the injustices and all of the things that are going on that just need to come to an end, because we're all the same. It doesn't matter our religion, the color of our skin, how we speak. It doesn't matter where we came from, because essentially we are all the same and we all want the same things. It's somebody else is dictating and controlling us. And that's when you need to stop doing that. And that was the one thing, is that I didn't want to be controlled by anyone else. And what I was doing was my control was what I was doing up here. The things that I didn't know that were happening up here is what was controlling me. And I needed to bring that to an end. You know, you can also have sudden life events. You know, there's a loss, major change, deep emotional healing. I mean, when I went to Chicago, and I mean, I went through 3 years of hell. I went, besides wanting to be a better person, that meant all this darkness had to come up and come out of me so I could look at it and find the truth of what is the truth and not the lies that were perpetuated on us. And my mother's death was probably the hardest thing that I had to deal with, because I saw so much more when that woman died, about the lies, about the abuse, about these people that were my family, my siblings. I mean, Jesus Christ, who the hell were these people? Because I wasn't one of them. I really wasn't one of them. And yet here I am in this family, but I had to find a way to heal and forgive them. And I also had to look at the role that I played. I mean, I knew that I came to these people for a reason, and a lot of it was to release a lot of karma that I had with them. And I chose to do that, and I'm done with them. I'm done with all of it. That's pretty much how I feel about it. Yes, I still keep learning and seeing things deeper. I still find, more memories are coming up that are expanding, I should say, and seeing how the thread worked through my entire life. So there's a lot more information coming up with that. And other things, I mean, you can take control of your upgrades by doing spiritual practice and meditating or doing energy healing. And then of course we have the shifts in the planets and cosmic energy. So, I mean, you take a look at, we've got 6-7 planets in alignment. You don't think that's not affecting you? It's certainly affecting me. Not necessarily in a bad way, but I'm still feeling the energies. And God knows, everybody here in Colorado, we're about done with winter. I mean, we're in deep freezes and the snow doesn't melt right now. And we get really cranky here because we're used to blue skies and nice weather, and it's friggin' cold out there. It's frigid, and I'm not liking it very much. So, so we all kind of deal with that. And everybody I'm talking to is the same way. We're just like, I'm over winter. I'm over the cold. I'm over all of it. Where is the summer? We can't wait. It just can't get here fast enough. So some of the other signs that you could be experiencing could be the fatigue, body aches, and headaches and dizziness. I know that I feel those a lot, especially when I'm waking up. When I was thinking, doing this show, I thought, well, God, why am I having headaches? I wake up and I just seem to have headaches. And I'm like, sure why I'm having the headaches. And then I read this. I'm like, oh, duh. I mean, come on, people. I'm the same way as you. I'm still human. I don't know. I ask and I get answers. Sleep disturbances. Oh, this was a big one for me. It still is a lot of times. Not so much right now. I'm sleeping through the night, thank God, but you can wake up between 2 and 4 o'clock in the morning and you can have very vivid dreams. And I have experienced this. So usually when I'm waking up at 2 to 4 in the morning, it's usually around 3. And it's like, okay, what do you want? because I know spirits wanting to get a hold of me, because I wouldn't wake up any other way unless they were wanting me to do something. So I ask, what is it that you want? What do you need from me? Because it's so quiet in the world that you can hear everything. And that's why they reach out to you at that hour, is because it's quiet in the world. And that means you can hear and you're not distracted because the world is asleep. And I remember when I started realizing that, I just started not being so upset that I was up at 3:00 in the morning, because I still had tons of energy. That's the thing. Even if you're getting up at 3:00 in the morning, you're still having tons and tons of energy, because spirit is downloading information to you. And you may not understand that, but it is. And it's just ask. That's all you ever have to do, is just ask. If you don't know what's happening, ask. Ringing in the ears. Oh my God. My ears don't stop ringing. Some days I think they will never stop, because it could be so loud and blaring. And then there's other times when my ears ring and it's like all of a sudden it's just like, and it gets really loud. And I usually stop, because I know I've learned that that's Metatron talking to me. And I was like, okay, Metatron, what do you want? And, sometimes I get the information. Other times I don't, but I do. It's like they're not talking to me and I'm not getting a sense, but I think I move in the direction they want me to. Like I'm just very trusting and surrendering to a process. And this is all just about paying attention. That's all this is paying attention. I mean, how about feeling hot and cold flashes without an explanation? Okay. God, I know that. I mean, I've been walking around for the last couple of days freezing, standing in front of the fireplace. And then all of a sudden I start getting really hot and I'm thinking, okay, it's not menopause. And I find it mostly when I'm getting really cold, it's usually in my hands or my feet, either one. And I'm always wearing like wool socks and that kind of thing on my feet. So my feet don't always get cold, but there are moments when they still get cold. But my hands, they're like ice cubes running around and I just can't seem to get them warm. And I look at that as because when you're starting to feel the heat, spirit is usually downloading when the heat is coming on. Oh, we're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break. Are you ready to step into your true potential? Kathleen Flanagan's Get Into Alignment session helps you break through blocks, balance your energy, and align with your highest self. Experience clarity, purpose, and flow like never before. Visit KathleenMFlanagan.com and unlock the power of living in alignment today. Welcome back, everyone, to the Journey of an Awakening Spirit. This is Kathleen Flanagan, your host, and we're streaming on the Bold Brave TV network. And what I was saying right before the commercial break was the hot and cold flashes. And another reason I'm saying this that can happen is when you're being downloaded, you can actually go into a healing crisis as well. I mean, I've had an experience where I was working with Joe Crane way back in the day, and we had, I think, a double gathering in my home, and we had the gate set up, and I didn't realize, and what the gate is it brings the angels in. And what was interesting about this is that part of me was in the gate and I didn't know it. And I think it was Gabriel who came in, and I just about lost it right then and there. I went into a healing crisis immediately. I didn't realize, because Gabriel is such a huge angel, and the reason that the gate is set up is so that we don't get blasted by the energy of these angels. And that's exactly what happened, is I got nailed. And when you're in a healing crisis, you go down for the count. I mean, you're just freezing. You're just freezing. That's all you're doing, is because I just got blasted with all this energy and I had all these people working on me. And it was so funny because I was on my front lawn, and this was happening in September, and I was on my front lawn and my neighbor came out and she just about freaked out when she saw it, because I had all these men working on me, doing this on hands healing on me on my front lawn. And I needed to be on the ground so I could ground this energy, get it out, to have the earth take the energy from me. And that's what these men were helping. And she's probably thinking, well, where's Michael? And Michael's in the house working on women. It was just one of those things, because some of us really got nailed by this. And even if you don't go into an experience like that, when you're getting downloaded, you can go into freezing too, because the information is coming in. It's a hot energy. And so when that hot energy comes in, then you're freezing. And then all of a sudden you're done freezing and now you're hot again. So that's part of what happens when there's downloads coming in, is that there is definitely a temperature difference that happens because of the higher frequencies. And we're so dense that that energy is actually burning a lot of toxins out of our body at the same time, so we can receive that, because we are very dense, we're very toxic. And some of the ways that I've had to learn, when I talked about earlier about getting rid of your limiting beliefs, that is probably one of the fastest ways to start taking in more energy, because my question has been for the last year, how do I take in more energy? How do I do this? What do I need to do? Yes, eating certain foods, because yes, my appetite, oh my God, I can't even tell you. There's so much food that I just have no interest in eating. I don't know what I want to eat. And Sal and I, we're both doing it. It's like, what do you want for dinner? I don't know. And we don't know. We just don't know. All I know is I want something different, like a totally different food combination. And I can't tell you what that is yet. And I go out and I look for recipes and things like that. And, Sal is one of those kind of guys that he changes very slow for him. And sometimes he wants certain things and I want to create different kinds of foods. And so, we experiment a lot. It's kind of interesting how we work through the differences in our eating styles. But that's another thing is, I can't tell you how many times I don't feel like eating. I'm just not hungry. And then there's other times where I'm hungry, but there's nothing in my house, because I choose, Sal buys it, but I don't buy the junk food. And I'm pretty disciplined to not eat it until I don't know what I want to eat. And then it's like, well, I'll just eat these chips or, whatever it is. And so I try not to do that. And then there's days when I just make all these vegetables up and I just can't seem to, I wolf them down, like, oh my God, I'm craving this and didn't even know I was craving it. So, just pay attention to that, because whenever you're feeling aversions to foods that you're used to eating that brought you comfort or whatever, your favorite foods, and they're not working, just honor that's another energy shift that's coming in. Then you can have emotional and mental shifts. These are always fun too, where you're feeling intense emotions, where you have waves of sadness, joy, anxiety, or bliss. Oh my God. With these 7 planets out there right now, I have said that we're going to feel both elation and frustration, anger at the same time. It's like simultaneous. And I feel like that I'm on this roller coaster of emotions, that one minute everything's good and then something happens and I'm down in the pits, and then I have to work my way back up. And I just go with it. I'm not creating a story. I'm not changing anything else. I'm doing my best to just not taking my head off or anybody else's head off when I'm in it. I'm just riding a wave is how I'm looking at it, because so many things are shifting and changing. And it's highly recommended that if you're hanging on for dear life on the side of the river, let your hands go and go down the river. That's a hard thing to do. And I remember years ago when I had to do that, where I was hanging on so tightly and everybody just kept saying, you got to let go, let go, let go. But it's like, no, I'm going to drown. It's like, no, you're not going to drown if you let go. You'll drown if you hang on tight. And that really is the truth, where you have to just let go and trust that you are taken care of. And the minute I let go, everything started to change again. And things got easier, because part of it is just you have to learn how to surrender and let go and just trust God, so to speak. The other thing is you're going to have sudden clarity or inspiration where you're receiving the downloads of information. I can't even tell you. I mean, remember last year when my coach said, I want you to come up with an outline for a course that you want to teach. And I ended up writing the entire course that weekend. That weekend, I wrote the entire course. Now it's up for changes and modifications. I haven't launched it or done anything with it yet, but it was like the basics were there. And I'm still fine tuning it, but it was like, he's like, what do you mean you wrote it? And I said, yeah, I was downloaded. And that's what spirit does. I mean, I did a talk on alignment and I already had part of it done and it was good, but it's like, no, I wanted, because I was going to be in front of 49,000 people. Well, not a community of 49,000 people, I should say. And I wanted to make sure that I had enough for everyone. And so I elaborated on it. I created more free gifts, downloads, more things to help people get into alignment, that whatever stage you were in, there was products there for you. You know, the emails, things to help you, meditations. I mean, I wrote 3 meditations. I mean, I was just like, it was 5 days of just pure work and creating little tiny workbooks and everything else. And I was just, it was downloaded. It was just totally downloaded. And that is, it's such a cool place to be. And, you know, my nose was to the grindstone, and Sal's just like, well, she's off in her zone. And he pretty much left me alone because he knew this was important. And what was happening was just what it was. And, you know, so I trust that. And I love when that happens, when things like that kind of clarity, and sometimes you just wait and you wait and you wait, and then all of a sudden, boom, it's there. So I've learned to trust not to push anything. When it's time, it will present itself. You can have increased awareness of past wounds that need healing. Again, this is coming up for me too. And I'm writing a chapter in this anthropology book for Infinite Impact. And I'm going to write about this event that happened when I was 11 years old, with my father beating me to an inch of my life. And I started seeing more details of bringing that in. And I cried. I did a lot of crying during that, you know, just because it was like, I don't want to write this. I don't want to write this. And I was invited. I don't have to, but I want to, because I think this is really critical. I think I'm not the only one that had, you know, that kind of childhood, living with a monster. That's how I felt. And my mother did nothing to protect me. So that was, my entire life changed at that moment. My entire life changed, the trajectory of my life. And I was thinking about that last night also, of just how things were. And I was mainly looking at how Pluto was when I was born, and where Pluto is now, and where it's going to be, you know, in the future. And I thought, oh my God, this is really profound, because during most of that, Pluto was in Leo and my father was a Leo. And who knows what he was going through during that period of time when he tortured every single one of his kids, and he tortured every single one of us. That man was about as evil as they came. But I understand what happened to my father, because Spirit finally told me what happened to him. And so it's like, okay, but thank God I forgave him before then. But it's still, I mean, he had trauma in his life too. He had things that happened to him, and I'm not going to share that on the air, because I'm not. So, you know, those are things when you start to understand that. But see, as an 11-year-old, I didn't know any of that. It took a lifetime, in my opinion, before I understood that. But I still worked on forgiving him prior to that, because I knew that anger and rage, and people said, you're always so angry. And it wasn't anger that I embraced at that time. I became enraged. I was raging. I wasn't angry. I was raging. There's a big difference between those two words. And I realized that's what I was dealing with. So, you know, now if I have anger, it's more anger. It's not rage. Thank God. Because I would black out. If that rage came up, I would black out. And that was a very scary place. So I never wanted that rage to come out to that degree. But you know, it's helping, because I see more of the timeline. I see that why this happened, and this is a good thing. It wasn't good during the time. It sucked, but you know, it's a good thing, because I'm on the other side of it, and I've healed from it, and I've grown from it, and those experiences can help a lot of other people. And I think that's the main thing, is because that was my motto when I was 17, 18 years old. If I can help one person with what I've been through, it would be worth it. And that's what I said. One person. All I have to do is help one person. And when I was 17, 18 years old, I knew I was helping people, because people told me that. They told me I looked in their eyes, and they stayed. They didn't run, and they didn't get back into drugs, because they could tell that I cared about them. And to me, that was a gift, that if I could have saved one life, then it was well worth my life. And that's why I think when I watch It's a Wonderful Life, that's the impact that every single one of us have on somebody else's life. We may not know it, because we're in our own little head and we don't know, but we don't know the impact that we make on other people's lives, just like other people don't know the impact they made on you. And that's why it's time to just stop with all this judgment, because if you really think about it, how many people helped save you along the way? How many people kept me from killing myself when I was in my 20s? I mean, there's just so much of what some people did to keep me alive, and I couldn't understand why. And they were there. Spirit brought them to keep me moving forward, because they knew that if I could get to a certain point, I would live I would have a very long life. And that's exactly what happened. And I thank those people. I haven't seen them in forever. I probably never see them again until I pass over. But they did something that really changed the trajectory of my life again, because I was on a downward spiral of death, and people coming in my 20s that showed me that I was worth saving and helped me to work through that saving of myself made all the difference in the world. Because I don't know how many of you have ever done this, but I remember going in the bathroom mirror and just saying, with all the hatred and vengeance I had, was, I hate you. And I would say that with everything. And I remember I had a boyfriend, and he couldn't believe that he heard me say that to myself. And I said, well, it's true. And he's like, but that's not true. And he helped me to process that. And he was such an amazing person to me at that point, because I couldn't understand why he could just love me the way he did when I felt so wretched. But he saved my life. That was the thing, is he saved my life. And when somebody's there that cares about you more than you do, for some reason, I chose to jump on that bandwagon and try to find what was inside of me to see what he saw, because I couldn't see what he saw. And we're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break. Are you ready to step into your true potential? Kathleen Flanagan's Get Into Alignment session helps you break through blocks, balance your energy, and align with your highest self. Experience clarity, purpose, and flow like never before. Visit KathleenMFlanagan.com and unlock the power of living in alignment today. Welcome back, everyone, to the Journey of an Awakening Spirit. This is Kathleen Flanagan, your host, and we're streaming on the Bold Brave TV network. And the final emotional and mental shift is a deep desire to simplify your life and detach from negativity. And I remember when that came, is like I quit my job. I wanted to do things differently. I had no desire to have like more stuff or anything. I really wanted to simplify my life. I didn't want complication, and I still don't. To this day, I don't. I look at myself as I have a very boring life. Most people will never say that or think that about me, but I think that. And I wanted to get rid of the negativity. That's part of the reason why I moved out of the Denver metro area, because there was just so much stuff and so much noise, and I just was so tired of it. And when I moved up to Johnstown, I had no idea how quiet it was going to be and how rural this area is. It's growing, unfortunately. But it doesn't matter. It's just nice. It's like nice people. Your neighbors watch out for you, because we have farming up here. We have cattle up here. We have, I don't know what else we do up here, whatever they do, cattle, farming, cows, dairy, those kind of things. And so, I mean, you got the real salt of the earth people in this area. And that's what I really like about it. And it just feels good to be up here. It feels soothing to my soul. And I think that's what I wanted, was to just be in this quiet place. And even Sal asked me, he said, why don't you listen to the radio in the car? I says, because I like the quiet, because I hear when I'm driving, I get a lot of information from spirit. A lot of times I get answers, I get clarity. And I just love the simplicity of that. So some of your spiritual and energetic signs are heightened intuition, that things are going to happen before they do. And, that's always something. I trust that intuition more and more every day. I've learned to trust that intuition and trust that quiet, still voice in my head. And I can't tell you how many times I probably have avoided a lot of things because of that. You see more synchronicities, like, you see double numbers like 1111, 222. Those are messages coming in from the angels. And if you know what the messages are, go read them so that way you know what track you're on. You can see animal totems. How many times? I had a raven, not a raven, a hawk was actually on one of my trees one day. I think it was last summer it was. And I was like, oh my God, it's a hawk. Thank God the cats were in the house. But the whole point is that when you see that, and then I've seen eagles up here as well. And it's like, whoa. So those are messages. Those are profound messages coming in from spirit. So when you're going up in vibration, you can notice more of those things. You can have a feeling of being disconnected from reality. Oh God, do I feel that a lot of times? And what I've been noticing, like, I think it was last week when I was doing all this, adding all this work and adding more value to this alignment talk that I was going to give, I actually didn't know what day it was. Like, I would come out of this zone and I was like, wow, what day is it? What time is it? Like, I had no sense. Like, I was in this energetic feeling void. And I didn't even know it. And I'm thinking, I think this is what it's supposed to be like when you're a spirit person, when you're disembodied, that there's no sense of time because we are in linear time. And all of a sudden I'm not in time. And it'd be amazing how fast time either sped up or it slowed down. I've been experiencing a lot of weird things this past week. It's all good. I have no, worries or concerns about it. It's just an observation of sometimes it's like all of a sudden the day's gone and it's like, where did it go? What have I done? And then last week, Sunday, Sal and Michael and I went out to breakfast and we were there for like an hour, I think it was. And it was like, it felt like we were there for several hours. It was the weirdest thing, like time really slowed down, where we were just having a really good time, enjoying each other, enjoying our breakfast because we hadn't gone here to this restaurant probably in over a year. So it was really nice to like have a nice change and go back to one of our favorite restaurants and just have breakfast. But I noticed the time and it was so bizarre. And then I think the rest of the day after that it sped up and it was so cold and we were trying to get home before the snow came because the snow was supposed to come at 2, but it started up at 11. And we had rain, which is weird. We had rain the night before. Saturday night, we actually had rain, and we've been in a deep freeze below 0 since. Go figure. Weather patterns, can't explain them. Then you can have a stronger connection to your guides, angels, and higher self. Well, obviously, that's just part of it when you're having all this, because I feel them really close. I talk to them all the time. I ask them at night, help me with this. What do I need to understand with this? And I always get answers. It's in the morning. It's like, oh, you need to look at this. Oh, check this out. And so I do. And it's like, it just brings more clarity to whatever it is that I feel like I need to be doing. And I do that. And then you can see flashes of light, orbs, or colors in your vision. Oh, yeah, I can talk about that too. Where I have seen, sometimes it's like I see something out of the corner of my eye, like it's a spirit being or something, but you look and they're not there. So I've seen that. I have seen orbs. I do have colors that come through at times where things are just different, or I'm just like with my eye squinting, trying to like see something that I know is there, but I can't quite see it. And those are things, those are all different things that we just take for granted. We don't think that we're in some sort of a spiraling up in ascension, but this is really what's going on. And a lot of people are feeling this, but they're not talking about it because they think that they're crazy and nobody understands what they're saying. But this is really what goes on during an ascension process. We are in the ascension process. Believe it or not, we are. If your life is crazy and chaotic, that's because we're in this ascension process. And it's going to be that until you learn to surrender, let go, trust, and just do what your heart is telling you to do. What is your heart telling you to do? What makes your heart sing and do it? I remember when I started back doing ballroom dancing, I knew I needed to exercise, but I didn't want to exercise because it just makes me crazy. And I like how I feel afterwards. I just don't like doing it. And so it was like, well, what can I do that's going to make me do this work and then not feel like it's exercise? And it's dance. It's always been dance. So I got into ballroom dancing because I always thought I had to have a partner with ballroom dancing, found out that was not the truth. And I mean, they kicked my ass. Ballroom dancing will kick your butt. Guaranteed, it will kick your butt. I remember I hired a personal coach, a trainer, and he couldn't believe the things I could do. And I said, well, this is all because of dance. And he's like, what? And he says, I can't even do some of the things you do. And this man, he could, every muscle in his body. I found muscles in my body I didn't even know were there because of this man. He couldn't believe what I was capable of doing, especially as old as I was. Um, and I said, really, this is just no big deal. And he was surprised at my balance, because dance is about balance and isolation and those kind of things. And I was doing all this without machines. So now I'm doing machines and equipment. And I'm like, this is interesting. So, but that was the thing. And, I really hated him every hour when I had him. I hated him every minute of that hour. And then when I got home, I was like, I really love this guy. I'm so glad he does this to me. And I always tell him that too. And because he was pushing me, and my body didn't like being pushed, but I did it anyways. And it made me feel good because I really wanted, because I knew the training would enhance my movement in dance. And that was really why I was doing some of the cross training. So some of the things that you can do during this is you want to make sure that you stay hydrated. Energy shifts require a lot more water. And I know that there's times when I feel like I can't get enough water, but it helps to calm me down. It helps to cool the heat off that I could be feeling. It helps to remove the toxins out of your body. And it just helps to, in this integration process, is hydrating is key to drink. So you want to make sure you're doing that. You want to make sure you're getting plenty of rest. If you honor the body, if it tells you to stop moving, stop moving. And I did that this weekend. I just couldn't move anymore. I'm still moving very slowly. I'm not moving as fast as I normally would, because I need to just get my head to feel like it's back on straight. That's how I feel. My head just needs more time to just rest. And I know that's my body saying it needs to be rested. So I slow down and I honor that. And then I'll do grounding practices. I'm not walking barefoot anywhere right now. It's too freaking cold. I'm not going out in nature. Again, too freaking cold. But I will eat more grounding food. So I'll do more like the comfort foods, the things that just help me to stay grounded and centered and to feel good about myself. So those are some of the physical self-care things you can do. On the emotional and mental, journal. Journal is the best thing. I know I've been starting to journal a lot more because there's so much stuff going on in my head sometimes that I just have to get it out. So just writing it down helps me to see and get clarity on where I am and what I'm feeling and what I'm experiencing. And then it's also helping me to dump it so I can just keep staying in this higher vibrational frequency. And, a lot of times when I'm journaling, sometimes messages come in that they just start talking to me while I'm journaling. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't matter. But that's what I do. Release your fears of resistance and trust the process. I have learned to do that. I just know, and I talk to myself over and over and over again about trusting a process, because sometimes when you feel like there's an injustice being done to you, it's like, but what's the real reason? And so I'm in something like that right now, where I'm really working through this trusting a process. Even though I know how I feel about it, that doesn't mean that's what it is. And so I'm doing my best to trust this process, even though I'm doing my own personal battles, but I will work through it. I always do. And then you also want to reduce external distractions like your media, social media, TV, that kind of thing that kind of puts you crazy. And I know that Sal does a lot with watching the news that's on YouTube or wherever he gets his news from. I don't know. That's going on about what's going on in Washington. And sometimes it's like, I don't want to know about it. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Right now, I don't want to know about it. All I know is just bring the prices down, get the gas down, get the food down, get the property taxes down, things like that matter to me. Clean the house, whatever you want to do, I don't care. but what's it doing for me? And that's the thing, is that, and I think that's what a lot of people want, is what is this administration going to do for us? But because I'm not there, I'm going to keep doing what I need to do to move into the direction that I want to do. So I'm not going to get distracted, because I know that my world can change when I change, and that the world out there in Washington doesn't necessarily have to affect me if I'm doing the work on myself, because my world is my world. My world is not Washington, D.C. And that's kind of how I look at it. On your spiritual support, recommend meditate daily. A lot of times that just helps you to get, it brings up your vibrations so you can handle the frequencies that are coming in. Okay, we're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break. Feeling overwhelmed? Take a moment to reconnect with your inner peace. Join Kathleen Flanagan's powerful de-stress meditation designed to help you release tension, calm your mind, and restore balance. Just a few minutes can transform your day. Visit KathleenMFlanagan.com and start your journey to tranquility today. Welcome back, everyone, to the Journey of an Awakening Spirit. This is Kathleen Flanagan, your host, and we're streaming on the Bold Brave TV network. Okay, right before commercial break, I was getting into the spiritual support, which is meditate. If you're meditating, and that could be any form. I mean, it could just be 5 minutes of just breathing, whatever that is, just to stop moving and integrate the energies, because the meditation helps to quiet the mind. It helps to bring up your frequencies. It helps you to get back into alignment of what the true essence of what the world is and not what we think it is. And meditation is really key for increasing your vibration. You can also work with the crystals for the Ascension, which would be amethyst, selenite, and lapis lazuli. Those are great crystals to work with. Amethyst is also really good. It's also a healing crystal too, so it helps with with your emotions and keeping your emotions calm. And the selenite, of course, also helps with higher frequencies and helping you to adjust to those higher frequencies. And then again, breath work is phenomenal. I know that when all of a sudden I'm going into some kind of a strange, like, oh my God, what's going on, and freaking out, and my head's going 100 miles an hour, I will stop and literally take several deep breaths, and I calm down and I get relaxed, and things keep moving forward, because sometimes it's like a little solar flare just went off in my head and I start reacting. So doing that with breath work is key. And I do that a lot, where I'm breathing more and more all the time, where I'm consciously taking deep breaths just to stay centered, just to keep this thing, because sometimes my brain is on overload, and it helps me to stay calm and centered. And then, of course, I'm always asking my angels or guides or the ascended masters for assistance. I'm always asking them for help, because they're there and they don't help us unless we ask. They are not allowed to interfere unless we ask. So I highly, highly recommend that you start asking. And here's a few affirmations that I'd like to share with you. I embrace my spiritual evolution with love and ease. I allow my energies to upgrade in perfect divine timing. I am open to receiving higher wisdom and guidance. So understanding, recognizing, and integrating energetic upgrades is really what I was trying to help you with, is to help you understand some of those things that you may not be feeling, or understanding what you're feeling, but you're having like crazy moments in your head, or your body's doing things, or you can't sleep or whatever. Just know that these are energetic upgrades, and it's okay. It's a natural process. It's a new skill that we have to learn how to deal with, because of the world is changing. And just trust the process, because your soul knows where it's going. It knows what it needs to do, and it's doing it. And you just have to get that ego mind of yours out of the way and trust that you are a divine being, because you are a divine being over being a human. You're just having a human experience. And then I would love if any of you would just, write in the comments down below what your experiences are, or show on social media, if you've had any of these experiences, because I think when we build a community of people, of like-minded people, things change. There's support there. There's an acceleration of our growth. that we can do. And, I do have the free chakra balance. It's only a 3-minute de-stress meditation, but it's really is a chakra balancing that brings in your frequencies higher to help you navigate. It keeps you calm during these crazy times as well. And that is on my website that you're welcome to download for free. And then please subscribe to my podcast. I mean, if you want to get notifications of when new episodes are coming out, just subscribe to there and you will be notified. And then if you found any value, then please, send the link to your friends or family, because I'm sure there's more people out there that are suffering or hurting, or maybe somebody who just needs some answers. And I would appreciate it if you would do that. And one of my final affirmations I'd love to give you is I'm expanding into my highest vibration effortlessly and with love. And that concludes the show today. And I wanted to remind you that my books, Dancing Souls. So if you want to understand some of the process, the books, Dancing Souls, are on KathleenMFlanagan.com and Amazon. And if you buy all three, it's $45 with a $5 shipping charge. And that's a savings of $15. And I also, if you want to have a consultation, I am giving free 15-minute consultation. So feel free to go on my site and schedule an appointment, and I'll be more than happy to talk to you and see if there's anything I can do to help you. And I will see all of you next Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And from my heart to yours, I hope you have a fabulous week.